First of all, this has nothing to do with the Constitution of the United States. The fact is that the Congress of the United States has passed laws granting the President of the United States this executive authority. He has it by statute and by law. As a matter of fact, many of you might remember that in 1999, Congressman Lamar Smith and others wrote to then President Clinton asking him to use his discretionary power more often. In other words, I'm sorry to say to the gentleman, Mr. King, but I think the gentleman from Texas is an authority on this issue, as he has chaired the Judiciary Committee. And the gentleman from Texas knows best, and he signed that letter, and it was bipartisan. So this has nothing to do with the Constitution of the United States. Let's not kid ourselves. Now, if we want to deal fundamentally with if this is good or bad, we can deal with that also. The fact is that this House passed the DREAM Act 216 to 208. That is a fact that in the fall of 2010. And that 55 senators stood up for the DREAM Act in the Senate. The fact is that a majority of senators have already voted in favor of it, and a majority of the members of this House. Now, what I don't find in the Constitution that says that a majority of senators shouldn't prevail. We all know that. It should be just simply 51 out of 100, but that's not the way the Senate works. But that's not in the Constitution of the United States. So what the President is really doing in his executive order is allowing. And I just want people to understand that we're also here for justice and for fairness. And it is only fair and just that young men and women who are no different than my daughters, than your daughters, they are just as American as they are. They speak this language. This is the country that they love. It is the only country that they know. And we're waiting for the paperwork to catch up to those Americans. That's what they are. And they came out by the hundreds of thousands. In Chicago, there was 12,000 in line. They came up with their moms and their dads, and they were crying for joy because they had an opportunity to go to school, to become educated, and to contribute back to this nation. Children. We should not hold children responsible for the actions of adults and of their parents. We should give them an opportunity, and that is what this executive order has done. They go to school with your children. They sit down in the same churches with you and pray on Sunday. They play in the same playgrounds. They're an integral part of the communities in which we live. And in America, when they hear them speak, they hear the voices of young Americans. And one day, we will pass the DREAM Act and we will not need an executive order. Things are getting better, Mr. King, here. November 6th, everybody said, stop picking winners and losers. Let's fix this immigration issue. And Republicans and Democrats are working together to come to find a solution. Now is not the time to divide this House and the Senate when it is looking. We can't talk decently about Benghazi or the IRS or anything, Obamacare or the budget or guns. But there is one thing that, when you have a vice presidential candidate, our colleague Paul Ryan, come to Chicago and speak, when you have a Congressman Carter come to San Antonio with me and speak, things are changing. Let's respect that. Let's respect the love and the intensity of caring about fixing our broken immigration system that has been expressed. I was so delighted, I want to share to the gentleman from Iowa, when your majority leader, Mr. Cantor, gave a speech and said, I'm not only for the DREAM Act, I'm for a pathway to citizenship for the Dreamers. I said, great. I didn't question his motives. I said, great. How can I help you? Let's help him, the majority leaders, and other Democrats and Republicans alike who have said, you know what? Let's fix our broken immigration system. We're tired of it dividing families. I want to say, I've had them come into my office, American citizen soldiers, going and fighting on the front line so that you have the right to speak here and protect it. And they have their wives being deported. We should have discretion so their wives aren't deported. That's only fair and right. 4 million American citizen children. Mr. King, 4 million American citizen children have undocumented parents. We should not separate them. We should have discretion to keep those families together. Let's defeat this motion. It has no place in the House of Representatives.
The gentleman's time has expired.
I thank you. I just want to make clear something about DACA. I've filled out many applications, as I know my colleague from Minnesota has. They pay a fee. They go through an extensive background check. They have to give up their fingerprints and go through an extensive background check if they find they're denied DACA. So don't think it's just show up. Now they're given a work permit for 2 years, and they get to work with that work permit. They don't have any right to health care or to any means-tested program, nothing, but the right to work and not to be deported from the United States of America. And they're contributing to this country already. So I just want to make that clear. Why would we want to spend the money of the federal government chasing down and hunting down and deporting people who came here as children who do not even know the countries that they came from? Again, I want to reiterate, they are American and everything but a piece of paper. And the Congress of the United States should be working to try to see how it is we bring them in and integrate them more fully. I want to express to the gentleman from Iowa something very, very clearly. I want to use every dollar and every resource to go after every gangbanger, every drug dealer, every person that is a criminal doing harm in the United States. But these are children who are doing no one harm. They came as children. They are innocent and should be treated as such. We want to prioritize our enforcement. We want to prioritize our enforcement so that we go after people who will do American citizens ill. They don't. They're children. They're wonderful young people. And I would suggest to everybody here, meet one, talk to one, and what you're going to see is the same values that you inculcate in your own children are the values that have been invested in these young men and women. We should give them a chance. Many of them are being denied as they go through the process. But it is a process that says we should use prosecutorial discretion. It is long. Everybody in this body knows, and you don't have to be a student of the Constitution of the United States to know that the President has plenary powers to pardon anybody at any time for any reason. Just ask Gerald Ford about Richard Nixon. That is a fact. And the President of the United States, in this case, is taking innocent young men and women who have been thoroughly checked in their background and said, you know what? I want to go after the mean, ugly people who want to do us harm. And I want to set aside these young men and women. We voted for it, 216 to 208. It was a proud day in the Congress of the United States. And I just want to say one more time to the gentleman from Iowa, there are members of your side of the aisle who I know are going to continue to work with us. Would the gentleman yield? Who are going to continue to work with us in this Congress of the United States to get this finished. Please let us do that work.
The time of the gentleman from Minnesota.